Will $800 to staff members of aged care facilities make a difference?
Lisa, this is an act of cynical politicking that I thought would have even been beyond Scott Morrison. The truth is that we have a crisis in aged care that's been 8 years in the making. Scott Morrison has cut aged care funding personally as Treasurer twice. One of the first acts of the incoming government was to cut the wages of aged care staff, and now we're expected to believe that this is going to make a difference. If Scott Morrison gave a stuff about aged care workers, he would be doing something more than giving them a pay rise that only lasts up until the next election. I mean, come on.
Right at the moment, though, it's critical to try and maintain staff members, to not have anyone else walking away from the industry, which I think everyone does agree is completely stretched. But could this just be enough to convince someone, you know what, I'll stay on for another few months at least until the Omicron crisis sort of passes us?
Lisa, this aged care crisis is absolutely starting and finishing in the workforce, and the Royal Commission made that really clear. Remember that Scott Morrison's had 22 reports since he's been in government that have told us some variation of aged care is in crisis, and then a 2-year Royal Commission, of which the key recommendation was that we need to fix these workforce issues. Now, a pay rise that lasts up until the next election as a cynical political ploy, because we know this man will do anything to win the next election, is not going to do anything more than hold this thing together by a thread. The truth is that the aged care sector, the average experience of an Australian in aged care today is one of neglect. The Royal Commission told us that 2/3 of aged care residents today are malnourished. They're literally starving under the care of their own government. Now, Scott Morrison's got this shoddy political fix that he's put forward, yet the real answer to this problem lies in part in supporting the workers who have gone to the Fair Work Commission to ask for a pay increase. Now, if the government cared about aged care workers and their wages, they would support the Fair Work Commission case. But they've made it very clear, and Jane Hume was on radio this morning reiterating this, they're not supporting that claim. So, you know, it is just shameless politicking, and the government have neglected this sector in a disgusting way for 8 years, and now we're expected to believe that they care. It just doesn't add up.
And just to go to what is happening at the moment inside these homes, Greg Hunt yesterday suggested that of the deaths that we have seen, and there's been several hundred in January just since the start of this year, that 60% of those were receiving palliative care. Do you accept that?
I find that disgracefully offensive. I mean, what is Greg Hunt saying? That these people were going to die anyway? Like, that is a disgusting comment. What is the reality here is that this sector, through Omicron, it was already in crisis. Through Omicron, this is the worst crisis this sector has experienced in 40 years. Wound management is not being taken care of. Vulnerable people are sitting in soiled pads because there is literally no one to come and help them. People are not getting enough to eat. Staff cry to me on the phone and tell me that it's like a war zone where they're working at the moment. Now, the government, in the middle of this crisis, this tells you everything about their priorities. Instead of dealing with this crisis, instead of going to the Parliament and fronting up to answer questions about this, the Aged Care Minister, Richard Colbeck, went instead to the cricket. In January, in the worst outbreak, the worst problems we've had in aged care in this country, he spent not 1 day at the cricket, but 3 days at the cricket. Now, I have to say, Lisa, that Australians are going to have a choice when the next election comes up about whether they are comfortable for their representatives in Canberra to treat vulnerable and frail Australians in this disgraceful way. And if not, they need to get rid of this government. They have had going on 9 years to deal with this problem. Instead, they've made it dramatically worse. We need to vote them out if we want to see a change in aged care.